What's up, Tiger fans? Morgan here, back again with another quick video about your Clemson Tigers. I know it's been some time since I've done a video and I haven't really had a ton of chances. Work's been really busy for me, radio's been really busy, and honestly, the Clemson football team has been stressing me out beyond my capacity. So I've had to take a little bit of a break here. I still am on Twitter at the Morgan T Show, so make sure you follow me there. I put my stats out there, I put the charts out there, but it has been tough this year to keep going. Tough to find that motivation after such a disappointing start, and now that they're 8 games into it, a disappointing season, really. There's still a few games left to go, 4 games left in the regular season, so Clemson still has an opportunity to turn things around or at least finish strong. Maybe not turn things around, but at least finish strong before the season is over with this year. We'll see what they can do and how well they can finish the season in 2023. We will talk about that and more. Before we do, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can stay up to date on all of my exclusive Clemson content I put out every single week. All right, I wanted to do something a little bit different here and ask myself, I wrote down some questions based on reading some things, listening to Cade Klubnik today, and I wrote down some questions that I wanted to kind of ask out loud and give you my answer, but also get your answers in the comments as well. So when you're watching this, listen to the question. I'll put it up on the screen, and I'll answer the way I think, and then you can answer in the comments, and I'd love to get your perspective as well. All right, so we got 7 questions here, and we're going to go through it real quick, and we'll wrap up the video. All right, question number 1. How do you feel about Clemson's current season performance, especially after being picked as one of the teams for the ACC championship game? Yes, I think you could say disappointing is kind of light way of saying it. A lot of fans out there are extremely frustrated with Clemson right now and Dabo Swinney, his decisions that he's made over the past couple of years, the performance of the players, even the players that are supposed to be the star players, the players that are supposed to be the leaders on the team. A lot of disappointment to go around. It's crazy to think that just 9-10 weeks ago, we were saying, Clemson could be that team to be right back in the mix, right back in the fight for the playoffs, right back in the mix for the ACC championship game. Another 10-win season wasn't out of the realm of possibility. And now it's just like crashing. Anything and everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. And as Big Al has said on the radio, it's not just like normal mistakes. It's like the worst possible mistakes. Not just a fumble. It's a fumble return for a touchdown. It's not just an interception. It's an interception return for a touchdown. And so Clemson really has probably been one of those schools that is historically an outlier with the amount of turnovers they've had and the amount of points off of turnovers. I don't know many teams that have ever done as bad as Clemson has, but this is definitely one of those bad seasons when it comes to just weird things happening. But I will say this, I think that if you go too far down that road, you're in a situation where you're just making an excuse. The team has got to perform better. The players have got to perform better. Just saying it's an odd season or crazy things are happening or they've been bit by some unlucky bug or whatever it may be, that to me, if you go too far down that road, it's not a good thing. You have to own up and take accountability of the way you're performing. That comes from a player standpoint and a coach's standpoint. And it's shocking to me. Someone texted me and said, Morgan, Clemson has lost 4 ACC games. They have, I think, 2 more to go. You don't count Notre Dame, right? You don't count South Carolina. You count North Carolina and Georgia Tech. They have 2 more to go, and they're not winnable. They're not going to be easily winnable, guaranteed wins for Clemson. And Tommy Bowden never lost 5 ACC games. As frustrating as it was to watch his teams, Tommy Bowden never lost 5 ACC games in a season. And so Dabo Swinney that took this team to 2 national championships, 4 national championship games, multiple college football playoff appearances, is now having one of the worst seasons, even potentially a worse season, worse than Tommy Bowden ever did. To me, that is just especially shocking. I said after the game on Twitter, I'm at a loss for words with this team because of just the fundamentals that are terrible, the situational awareness that's terrible. From if it's not one player, it's another player. And then just the lack of playmakers. We've been frustrated about it for a couple of years now at certain positions. And the playmakers just the gamers, as I say, the Tim Tebows, the guys that are going to go out there and win a game for you, the guys that are like Deshaun Watson that are going to say, you know what, the team's just scored, but let's go be legendary. The gamers out there that are going to say, I'm not going to take a loss here. I'm going to will myself to win. It seems like they're not on this team. I hate to say that because honestly, this team is built with a bunch of guys that I would hang out with, I would go out to dinner with, I would spend time with their families. I would want my families to hang out with them too. They're not bad people by any means. But what we see on the football field, oh, it's bad. It's really bad. I mean, it is one of, I think they rated it, that NC State loss was one of the worst in the week, or if not the worst game of the week as far as how bad did you lose versus your opponent. So just in shock and awe and loss of words. When I say loss of words, I probably just talked for 10 minutes about it, but I am truly, don't know what to say. I don't know how to fix it, but I know that it needs to be fixed. That's for sure. All right, next question. Cade Klubnik talks about the importance of not getting used to losing. What are your thoughts on the team's attitude towards losses, and do you agree with Klubnik's perspective? Well, I think from a quarterback perspective, you have to always come out and be extremely positive. You have to have your players back. You don't want to be seen in the public eye as throwing players under the bus. You want to take on the blame. When things are going good, you want to praise other people on your team. When things are going bad, you want to endure it and take on the ownership of it and try to be that leader through the adversity. My father-in-law always says, when it's good, enjoy it. When it's bad, endure it. And I think that Cade Klubnik is saying the right things, but it's really important for Cade Klubnik to do the right things. It's one thing to get out there and know what to say and how to be positive and talk about your faith. And I really do believe he's being genuine and he is a really good person. But it's another thing to say, I'm going to go out there and actually show what I can do on the football field and fix these things and fix them quickly, not just, wait for 2024 and just fight through it. And maybe that's where we're at. Maybe as Clemson fans, we're having to go through this withdrawal period of we're just going to have to endure the growing pains of a sophomore quarterback. But to be honest with you, even compared to other sophomore quarterbacks, this is a pretty bad season. This is a lot of enduring for the fan base and for the team to go through as well. I hope that they keep faith and they not get used to losing. This team has to be one of those teams that, again, like I said, needs to figure out who their playmakers are, who their gamers are going to be, who they can give the ball to win the game, and what plays actually work for them. There has to be a couple of plays here and there that they say, no matter who we play, this play, we're going to figure out how to make it work, or it's going to work. Or no matter what happens, we're going to get the ball to this guy in this play, and he's going to figure it out. I think that that's important. I have some more thoughts on it. I think there's another question coming up. We'll continue here. So question number 3, what do you think the team needs to do in order to finish the season strong and starting with the upcoming game against Notre Dame? Well, I think, it's hard, but it's easy to be kind of the realist in the room and say they're not going to win Notre Dame. It's easy to say that there's no way, no how, not going to happen. And I can understand that perspective, and this team really doesn't give you a ton of confidence, especially after the fact that they lost with DJ last year at Notre Dame and just really got manhandled with the running game. I think that could easily happen again, and this Notre Dame team could really just control the game and really beat Clemson and be actually maybe even the first team this season to beat Clemson and have better stats than Clemson. What's funny is of these 4 losses, I believe in all 4 losses, Clemson's really had a better box score and stat sheet in some of the critical areas that you look at for who won a game or lost a game. Clemson's actually been winning in those things and losing in the turnover battle. I think even if Notre Dame doesn't get the turnovers that they're looking for, they still have a good chance to win the game just straight up. No turnovers involved, no major injuries involved. I think that Notre Dame has shown that they understand how to play their style of football better than whatever Clemson's style of football is right now. I don't really know what they have as far as that goes. But I will say this. Talking about not just Notre Dame, let's go past Notre Dame, because really I think that Clemson needs to figure out how to get some ACC wins, and they also need to beat their rivalry team, South Carolina Gamecocks, in the very last game of the season. So they have to figure those things out too. I'm not going to be so upset if they lose to Notre Dame, just because I do feel like it's going to be an uphill battle for the Tigers. However, for those other ACC games, we've seen that North Carolina is vulnerable. We've seen that Georgia Tech is beatable, but man, Georgia Tech is actually getting better as the season goes on, doing the opposite of Clemson. So that's a scary game, a military appreciation game that I will be at, and I will be wearing purple, and I will be kind of worried that Clemson may not have a chance there, or they may get beat in that game too. I won't say not have a chance. I don't want to be too negative, but right now it's hard to be positive for sure. The South Carolina game is very important. Really, honestly, you could just alleviate all the ACC lost pain by just winning that game because of how important the rivalry is within this state, and the fact that they lost by 1 point last season. So getting that win is really huge for the Tigers. But I will say this, as far as like specifics with the team, I think that Clemson does need a running game. I don't understand why they can't figure it out. But the thing is, when you see this guard tackle counter where they pull to a guard and a tackle and they pull them across to the other side of the offensive line, the center, let's say they go from left to right. The left tackle and the left guard pulls around, and the center, right guard, right tackle shifts to the inside. They're supposed to pull around. The guard goes first, gets the initial block, and then the left tackle is supposed to be the lead blocker for the running back who's following that offensive lineman. Unfortunately, that type of play has just not worked very well, but it is the base of what Garrett Riley runs. It is like the bread and butter. It's like step one. And the fact that Clemson cannot succeed at step one, at their base offensive play, at their base run play, that's why Clemson can't figure anything out anywhere else, because their running game is just lacking big time. I think that Clemson has to figure out a running game, and I will say the running game needs to come from, put the words up there, Cade Klubnik, okay? When Cade gets time in the pocket, he needs to decide, am I able to hit somebody in the open or not? And if I'm not able to hit someone in the open, he has to be able to move his feet around and move himself around in the pocket to give himself a lane to run. Guys like Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, guys like Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, all these top NFL guys that move on, they're able to move themselves around in the pocket while still scanning downfield, but also kind of with their peripheral vision, see when there's open grass in front of them. It seems like when there's open grass in front of Cade, he'd rather just throw it or even throw it away. That's another thing that Cade has to figure out. I want to see one running game with Cade Klubnik. He's got to either pass the ball or then he's got to run himself. Clemson's always been a much better offense when their quarterback is a threat running the ball. And right now, Cade's really not a threat running the ball. So I'll say step one, I'd like to see Cade as the threat to run the ball. From passing situations, not from design quarterback runs. I want to see Cade get in a passing down, in a passing play, and decide to run the ball instead for a first down. The next thing is just the decision making. I feel like they struggle a ton when it comes to the red zone, and a lot of that falls on the decision making from the quarterback. He'll check down into some play that makes no sense, or he'll immediately throw to his very first read when there could be other reads that are opening up. I know a lot of people say, well, he doesn't have a ton of time. Well, if you go look on my Twitter page at The Morgan T Show, you'll see that on average, according to PFF's analytics, he does have a decent amount of time to throw the ball. Not the best in the world, probably one of the top 15 or 20 worst quarterbacks in the Power 5 as far as time to throw, but he has just about the same amount of time to throw as Michael Penix Jr. So there are other quarterbacks out there that are having more success that have less time or equal amount of time than Cade Klubnik. He has to be able to take the time he's using. On average, 2.6 seconds that he gets. That's more than enough time for a college quarterback at an elite level to be able to get the ball out to the right player and be able to make a decision beyond just the very first read. It seems like at the end of the game or later towards the North Carolina State game, all they could really call was slant passes for Cade, and that was all he could really do successfully. And that just shows that they don't really have a ton of confidence past his very first read. You can see it out there. He's got to figure out, one, how to get running and get going in the running game with his legs, and then two, how to work beyond that very first read. I told you this a couple of weeks ago. It seemed like the passing game and his average yards per pass are low a lot of times because when you go back and watch it, it's because he's just letting go of the ball very quickly. Now, he'll throw it to the first guy he sees open, but again, that leaves that what if. What if that other guy was open? So that's my question there. That's my answer there. I'd love to get your thoughts as well. All right, so how do I perceive Cade Klubnik's leadership qualities and his response to adversity? Well, I think Cade Klubnik is a good kid, and he's trying to figure out how to be a leader, and it's a very difficult situation to be in for sure. But I do feel like that he has to show what he can do on the field. You know, you can talk the talk, you can pump up the team, but I don't really know if there is a leader on the team. I mean, you have Cade, who has to be a leader because of his position, but is not really performing very well on the field. He's not really making the best decisions in critical moments either. He's struggling in the red zone. He's struggling in the 4 to 2 minute offense. He's struggling to decide whether to run the ball or not. And so while you want him to be a vocal leader, he also has to back it up, right? Then you have someone like Will Shipley, who is really more of your vocal leader, I think, but he does it, honestly, I would say, in a way that I wouldn't want to see. He is someone who is going to yell at somebody inappropriately. He shouldn't be yelling at certain players and coaches, in my opinion. And so you kind of don't really want him to be the leader because of how emotional he is in the middle of a game, in the middle of a situation, screaming at people, especially considering he makes mistakes himself. So you don't want somebody to be screaming their head off at you and then turn around and fumble themselves. That doesn't make a lot of sense. That loses your credibility as well. On the defensive side of the ball, I don't know who the leader is either. I would assume it's Jeremiah Trotter Jr. He seems to be a guy who they can rally around, but he's not a guy that seems to be that vocal guy. So I don't really know as far as the locker room goes, but to me, on the outside looking in, when it comes to the people that are out there in front of the cameras, it does seem like they're struggling to find that true leader on the field and off the field. All right, let's see. How important is it for you? I'm going to skip a question here. I know I said I had 7, but I'll skip a question. How important is it for you that Cade Klubnik express his commitment to staying with the program and his trust in Coach Dabo Swinney and the coaching staff? I think it's very important, especially in today's world of the transfer portal and just quitting on your team and leaving and moving on. Hopefully, we will see that this team is not going to quit on the coaching staff and vice versa, that the coaching staff is not going to check out as well because we assume that there may be changes made or not. I think that this team has to continue to work together and develop a bond that is stronger than just winning and losing games and figure out how to get through the season and finish strong. I mean, they still can win these 4 games, even though I don't give them a lot of confidence on the Notre Dame game. They still have an opportunity to win North Carolina and Georgia Tech and South Carolina. So they still have an opportunity to win 4. But they also have an opportunity to lose all 4. So this is one of those teams that's just very much a toss-up every single week. You don't know who you're going to get. They get a great performance, what seemed like a great performance, just some situational issues against Florida State. But it honestly seems like there's more luck involved with their success than it is just consistency and them doing it with a purpose. The success kind of comes more randomly than anything. So I do feel like that it's really interesting to see how Cade has addressed that and says that he's sticking with the team. You want to hear that from your leader. If Dabo Swinney truly believes in him like he does, then I think also that Cade should return the favor as well. He's obviously not benching him, which to me, I've already said this many times, I thought he should have been benched versus Charleston Southern when he threw the pick six. I thought that would have been a very great time to just sit him down and have him look at it from a different perspective and to show that he's not the lone wolf out there. That also to help him realize he doesn't have to do everything himself. But they've kind of passed beyond that. They couldn't do it in North Carolina State game for whatever reason. There are just no other options. I don't really know why. That's another issue for another day. But Cade, knowing that he's really the best option for the Clemson Tigers and showing that he's still committed to the team is extremely important. All right, last question. What are your expectations for the team going forward, and how do you think they will regain their winning form and improve their record? I kind of mentioned this on a previous question. I think I might have already answered it, but I will say that, one, Cade Klubnik has to run the ball better. And then two, Cade Klubnik has to make better decisions in specific situations. 4-minute, 2-minute offense, for example. He can't be throwing all the way to always to the check down. A lot of people I see on social media, check down Cade or check down Klubnik. He cannot do that. He has to continue to move the ball down the field and press that defense and will the team to win, push the team towards moving the chains. He can't just bail out on his pass plays and just go to the check down every time. A lot of fans out there would say, well, Morgan, why is he even given the opportunity for a check down? I mean, in some cases, I might question that as well. Like, if that's what his main safety valve is and he seems to be using that as a crutch, then take that away from him and force him to grow in that way. Force him to do things that he doesn't naturally want to do. I know it's hard to say that now because you've kind of made your plays. You spent all offseason making plays that you feel like will be successful. And against that would be against actually, I would probably say sound knowledge, because you always want a safety valve. You want a check down there. But again, it does feel like the Cade kind of relies on those checkdowns, on those shorter, those first reads way too often to be able to actually figure out what the what-ifs are out there. I think this year for me is going to be highlighted by the what-ifs with Cade Klubnik. What if he would have held the ball a little bit longer and thrown it downfield to someone else? What if he would have seen the grass in front of him and ran the ball with success and dove forward on a fourth down play instead of diving, right, or instead of sliding, right? A lot of different what-ifs with Cade Klubnik, and hopefully he can erase some of those things the last four games of the season. Do I think that Clemson can beat Notre Dame? I'm going to say I'm less than confident, probably more than not confident, right? Do I think that Clemson can beat Georgia Tech? I'm going to say that I'm neutral there. Do I think that Clemson can beat North Carolina? I'm going to say I'm neutral to less than confident. That's 3 games there. Do I think they can beat South Carolina? Well, when it comes to an away game that's a rivalry game, I'm going to say I'm neutral there as well to less than confident, because it's a hard place to win, even for a good team. I do feel like that Clemson has the opportunity to win those 4 games. But again, they also have the opportunity to lose those 4 games. If they don't, they'll end up 4-8 overall. And man, I don't think I've ever in a million years felt like Clemson would end up 4-8, and have a losing season and not have a bowl game. That would be just crazy for me to even think of that. As far as Dabo has come to be as fallen as he has, there'll have to be a lot of changes in the offseason. A lot of debate over what the changes could be. I'd love to get your comments in there. Let me know what you think. Do you think I'm crazy? Did you like this format? No, it's a little bit longer, but I wanted to answer these questions for you. I think are pretty interesting. And like I said, put in the comments. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already to the YouTube channel. And as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you at the top of the hill.